Very good morning and welcome to Apollo 24/7's Health Hour. I'm Jhansi Laxmi, your host, and today we have an expert from Apollo Hospitals who's a pediatrician. We are going to discuss about summer special. We're going to discuss everything about kids' diseases that can be specific to summer. So join us in this live show and you can ask your queries in the live chat and we get you an answer from our expert from Apollo Hospitals. If you're watching this show on Facebook or any other social media pages, do hop on to YouTube if you have a question to type, because I take questions from the YouTube chat only, and you can actually type in your queries with the name, age, all the problems that you want to ask the doctor, and put it into one chat box so that it's easy for me to ask this question and place a question before an expert. And also on this show we have a health quiz. You can join us and you can also win gift coupons from Apollo 24/7. Be with us towards the end. We are going to share these. Also, please do like, subscribe, and share Apollo 24/7 and download Apollo 24/7 app so that you get the entire Apollo Hospital services in one app. तो चलिए आज का टॉपिक डिस्कस करते हैं. वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस किड्स डिसीजेस इन समर एंड वी हैव अ वेरी सीनियर expert pediatrician joining us, Dr. Vijay Yewale from Apollo Hospital CBD Belapur, Navi Mumbai से. And Dr. साहब का experience more than 36 years है, and he is the president of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, chairperson of IAP Infectious Diseases Chapter, member of Indian Medical Association and Association of Consultants of Mumbai, member of National Neonatology Forum, and this very senior pediatrician can be consulted in Navi Mumbai and also on Apollo 24/7's app for general pediatrics, vaccinations, the newborn care, pediatric infectious diseases, etc. And this is the time that we welcome Dr. Vijay Yewale to the show. Very good morning, doctor.
Very good morning. How are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you so much. We understand Sunday is one precious time for you, and we appreciate your time this Sunday morning with us.
It's always pleasure connecting with parents, but
We do understand, and I understand that parents are always anxious, especially whichever the firstborn or the next born children. We are always anxious as parents, is what I understand from my own experience. Always looking out for questions. And thanks to pediatricians who have immense amount of patience, and I have respect towards your profession, doctor. So let's start with summer.
yeah.
How the heat, especially the challenging summer heat, can be for different age groups of children. Understanding what heat can do to a child, especially newborn, young children, toddlers, and then how about children who are between 5 to 15?
Yeah, so good morning, parents. And as we face the summer, let's talk about what summer can do to children, right? From, as Jhansi said, from newborn to the adolescent age group. Well, in some parts of the country, we see extreme heat where newborn can get what is known as environmental fever. And at times it can be difficult to, differentiate or tease it out from a very disease causing fever in a small newborn baby. When it comes to children, they all are out in vacation, they are summer camping, attending various sports activities, and they get exposed to extreme heat and they suffer fever, what we term as hyperpyrexia or heat stroke at times. And then certain elements are also pretty common during summer, say loose motions, vomiting. They tend to eat out in vacation, so they are susceptible to get some illnesses which are waterborne or foodborne. And then adolescents and adults who go out in sun are always at a risk of having sunburns and of course these other common ailments that are pretty common in summer months. Skin is a sensitive protective organ in the body, and one could have various skin issues, especially when your sweat glands, the pores are blocked. You tend to get different skin conditions like boils and pyodermas, so on and so forth.
Okay. So understanding that fever, that you said that body temperature might go up, which is a great concern. तो नॉर्मल कंडीशंस में जब हमें बताया जाता है कि फीवर इज एन इंडिकेशन दैट बॉडी कुछ डिसीज से फाइट कर रहा है, दैट्स हाउ फीवर इज बीन, दिस इज व्हाट सिंपल सी भाषा में हमें समझाया जाता है. बट हीट के कारण जो बॉडी का टेम्परेचर जो बढ़ता है, हाउ डू वी अंडरस्टैंड दैट एंड हाउ कैन आई घर में मैं पहले क्या कर सकती हूँ बच्चों के लिए?
So you put it very correctly. Usually, fever would indicate that there's something wrong and there's infection, and it is body's attempt to fight it out. But unlike that infectious fever, when there is a history of exposure to sun or heat, extreme heat, the body temperature tends to high because there are mechanisms in the body which help you know throw out the heat and maintain body temperature in a very narrow range, a safe narrow range. These mechanisms are overwhelmed when the external temperature is pretty high. So one can have fever, dehydration, and then that can literally affect all the systems of the body. So, what is important to understand is this kind of heat related fever usually comes with history of having been exposed to extreme heat for a pretty long periods of time, and pretty common in parts of the country where the heat is at and the temperatures are at extremes, and little uncommon in areas where it is sultry and humid.
ह्यूमिड रीजन्स में कम होता है, राइट? सो
Yeah,
थैंक यू
yeah.
सो मच फॉर गिविंग दैट क्लैरिफिकेशन. I see a lot of people are joining us. Saumik Patel said hi. Mahesh, hi. Murmu, hi. Nazmul Haqji, good morning. So I'm waiting for questions here.
And Jhansi, as you
Then,
asked me, what is the first thing that one must do if the body temperature goes high? Is
ji,
you one first and move yourself to a cooler environment, preferably indoors. Sit in a well ventilated room with minimum clothes, preferably light color clothes, loose clothes. Consume lots of fluids, and you could use a first aid home remedy of paracetamol, which I'm sure most of us have handy at our places. So until such time that you reach out to your doctor, these are first aid measures that one can adopt.
wonderful doctor. So पहले उनको cooler places में लेके जाइए and then start to give other treatments. And
Absolutely.
dehydration, rehydration, इन सब के बारे में बात करेंगे. But I see one question. Suman Kalyan Maiti has asked one question: how to prevent sneezing, cold and cough during the season changes? I understand that अगर गर्मी भी है, ये changes आ जाते हैं, cold and cough आ जाता है, monsoon में आता है, then also it is the same with winters. So every season, why does this happen?
Well, sneezing and cold is essentially triggered by that frequent change in the environmental temperature, especially when a child has an allergic tendency, underlying allergic tendency. Secondly, dust is the commonest allergen that all of us are exposed to, and it does become little dusty, and the environmental allergens are very much in the breathing layer when the temperature goes up. And then very sudden and frequent fluctuations in the ambient temperature makes a child catch this allergic issue and sneeze. The nose would start watering and the child gets uncomfortable. So again, one must try and avoid this frequent changes. I mean, very often we uh, get parents getting their children saying that he goes for swimming class or he goes for some indoor activity which is in an AC environment. He travels, he comes out, he's exposed to heat, again he's back home. So this variation in the temperature does expose a child to get these kinds of simple ailments. But the best thing is again avoid this. Secondly, use simple saline nose drops and don't jump to buying over the counter medicine and self medicate the children.
Right. So, two things here, doctor. Understanding cold and cough is one thing. Children who have these constant issues, उनका डर रहता है कि immunity कम है, या there are seasonal illness के साथ continuous भी रहता है. How do we help such kids to sail through summers?
Again, as I said, a normal healthy child in the first 6 to 8 years of life can have as many as 8 to 10 episodes of this common cold, mild fever lasting for a couple of days. So, this is absolutely normal, and this is how their immunity builds up. So, cold every month does not necessarily make a child, low on immunity. In fact, mounting body temperature, sneezing, cold, cough is a sort of an indirect indicator that the child has a good immunity. Now, allergic issues are, I would say it's a way the immunity expresses, and some are hyperallergic, some are able to tolerate this fluctuation or allergens pretty much better as compared to other children. But it's only with exposure, and as the child grows, the things settle. So the message would be, please do not panic. These are a few
Right.
things that I would say is the
Oh,
price
and
that we are paying
age,
for
she's
urbanization. Yeah. So one need not be so finicky and panic about it.
wonderful. Thank you so much for giving me that information. And next question that I want to take up is Ruchika's: how to deal with mouth sores and nosebleeds. Nosebleeds, yes, in summer we see that it's an increased episode of nosebleeds, and who are more susceptible to these nosebleeds?
Well, nosebleeds are pretty common in children as such, and they are little more often seen during summer months. Again, it's because of the heat that the normal wet lining that we have inside the nose, it dries up, and the inside of the nose is extremely sensitive, richly supplied with small blood vessels, and most of the children would have nose picking habit. If not a habit, they do inadvertently poke their nose, and with the slightest of trauma on the background of a dried lining inside, uh, the nosebleeds occur very easily. And it's a wrong notion that exposure to sun or eating very items which are very
Heat.
so-called hot or leads to nosebleed. No. So the essentially it is the dried crusted lining inside the nose which is very easily damaged by a trivial trauma, and that leads to nosebleed. Then again, what do you do when you have such a nosebleed? One, you use cold compresses. Wrap an ice cube in a piece of cloth, apply it from the outside, and that leads to the blood vessels contracting and the nosebleed stops. Secondly, use saline nose drops. Ensure that the lining inside is moist, avoid nose picking, and consume lots of fluids. That's a general mantra during summer. Ensure that you take lots of fluids.
So, Dr. Vijay, here I have a question. Ice pack or ice on the when it's bleeding, that I understand. But saline nose drops, does it have to be before the episode starts, or is it a general practice that one has to do, or
It is
after
a
the nosebleed starts?
Okay, not routinely one needs to put saline drops. After the nose bleed has stopped, very often you have crusting and drying up of the lining inside. So keep it moist by using saline nose drops.
Right. Thank you so much. And how about mouth sores that Ruchika is asking? Mouth sores, especially फिर से हमारे यहाँ हीट के वजह से आते हैं या कोई टैबलेट लिया है उसके वजह से छाले पड़ जाते हैं. This is one common notion. Is that true?
Again, these are myths. Mouth sores, there are different varieties of sores. Right from there are conditions what we call as aphthous ulcers, where for no reason some children have it. Then there are conditions where children are deficient in vitamins, they get mouth sores, and there are extreme conditions, rheumatological conditions like lupus, where you have ulcers in the mouth. So the what the parent is asking about the common routine mouth sores are idiopathic aphthous ulcers. The best way is to rinse your mouth. There are gels available which can be applied locally in the areas which can be easily reached with your fingertip. Apply that pain killing emollient lotion inside the mouth, and as a painkiller again, paracetamol is the medicine that one could take. Consume lots of fluids and consult your doctor.
यस. सैयद रियाज जी, आपने तो क्वेश्चन पूछा है कफ एंड कोल्ड के बारे में, पर आप तो 35-year-old है. डॉक्टर विजय येवले इज अ पीडियाट्रिशियन, सो टुडे आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू टेक योर क्वेश्चन सैयद रियाज जी. बट आपको अगर कंसल्टेंट चाहिए तो यू कैन कंसल्ट ऑन अपोलो 24/7 एंड you can book your test or appointment. There's a number which is scrolling down. You could do that. So next question that I would want to take up is by Sridhar. His boy has a dry cough. 11 years of age है बच्चे का, 75 kilos है, overweight है for his age, At times in night, he gets unstoppable cough, and it's without cold.
Okay, Sridhar, from what you are describing to me, your child seemed to be having cough which has lingered on one following a viral illness, probably, or the second common issue is these children have hyperreactive airways. So, when triggered by change in weather, humidity, a common cold virus, or some known allergen, these children get into coughing, which is more pronounced in the night, more so early morning. They cough so much that you get a feeling that as if something is stuck inside, what is colloquially described as phlegm. And the cough bouts ultimately lead to what we call as post-tussive vomiting. The children vomits. They vomit. Children vomit, and so these are probably allergic cough. Asthma is a similar condition where one could have this kind of a cough. But mind you, well, I just heard that your child weighs 75 kg, which is really not good for his health. 11-year-old child weighing 75 kg, however tall he may be, 75 kg is definitely on the higher side. You need to advise him into get into some physical activities, diet control, and shed some kilograms, because all these obese children, they invite all these illnesses without any cost. So allergic cough, asthma, repeated respiratory infection, these are something which are really bothersome in obese children. So you need to get on to losing weight and getting into good nutrition, and consult your doctor for the same.
Yes, doctor, which is very important that we all manage our next generation's issues, because we need a healthy next generation too. So next
Absolutely.
question is, sir, this is Suman Kalyan Maiti. My baby is 8 month old, cold and cough mornings and morning sneezing. Which is a better methodology, nebulization or syrups?
Again, my a piece of advice would be most of this common cold and cough are ways that the immune system or the body is trying to get rid of those secretions. So unless the child is absolutely uncomfortable, please do not use any cold or cough syrup. Most of the cold and cough syrups which are sold or purchased over the counter, they have some degree of side effects. Sedation being the commonest thing, it makes the child sleepy. Secondly, it dries up the secretion. So simple saline nose drops, and don't get into using any cough syrup unless you consult your doctor. Nebulization is required in some children because we breathe through nose. There is a windpipe which divides into lungs, and it goes on dividing like branches of a tree. It becomes smaller and smaller. We are unaware of our breathing. We breathe in air, the oxygenation takes place, carbon dioxide is thrown out, and this goes 24 by 7 without our knowledge. In these children, who as such have narrower airways as compared to adults, the airways are also extremely sensitive. So the airways with little bit of secretions, the lumen is narrowed, you get noisy breathing, the child starts coughing, and sometimes the airway tubes, which are collapsible muscular tubes, the muscles contract. That is what happens in asthma or wheezing, childhood wheezing. And that is where you require medicine which would relax the smooth muscles. Nebulization is done in extreme stages when the airway narrowing is extreme. And in that condition, you also need to use oxygen. So nebulization is best left to the doctors, and it is best practiced in hospital setting. At home, unless your doctor has prescribed you, do not use these cold and cough syrups. Inhalers, some of the children are using, they are pretty much safe. They work wonderfully well as your nebulizer, provided you use it properly with a apparatus or inhaler apparatus.
Yes,
So,
doctor.
I mean,
And I
again, a strong message. Please do not use cold cough syrup unless your doctor has prescribed.
हाँ, and then अगर media blow up करना चाहती है, if they do that, there are cases all over the world where India is blamed for one cough syrup and usage of cough syrups. So let's not get
Absolutely.
into a larger debate. So we
Yeah.
will only on prescription need
Yes.
basis, do consult your pediatrician, especially if it's children. Without consulting, do not take any medication. Apollo 24/7 is available for ordering your medications, and if it's a prescription based
Yes.
medication, I'm sure Apollo 24/7 does not give you a medication without prescription. So yes, next question that I saw, which is important. Dhanu, how to deal with dehydration. My child is drinking a lot of water but still feels dizziness and dryness. This is a very, very important question, doctor, for me. As an adult, also, I feel that I am drinking enough water, but sometimes my body feels very dehydrated. And I worry about my nieces and nephews who go out and play in the evening. Even at 5:30, they step out into the community. Heat wave is so much that they are not drinking enough water. So, how can we help them?
Well, water is an essential element or component of our life, and we need to have adequate water inside our body. So, naturally, there are mechanisms where one starts feeling thirsty the moment the body water is depleted, what we call as dehydration. Now, how does one lose water? One is through the skin, with by sweating or exposure to heat environment, and the other through urine. So what happens in summer months? A large body surface area is exposed to high ambient temperature, and the insensible water loss through the skin is extremely high, and that is what triggers the protective mechanism of thirst. You start feeling thirsty, you consume lots of water, and at times, despite consuming a lot of water, you continue to feel thirsty and dry. This is because the imbalance between the loss and the intake. So, all the time, keep drinking lots of water. Ensure that you pass adequate urine through the day. And the water intake should not be only plain water, but at times you have juices, you have coconut water, you have sugar salt solution or oral rehydration solution. So, dehydration, mind you, parents, is an extremely important thing, and that can be easily prevented by consuming lots of fluids. Buttermilk and then homemade rice kanji, you can consume any sorts of water or fluid, and but ensure that you adequate fluids to a point where you don't no longer feel dry or thirsty. And I repeat that you must pass adequate amount of urine, adequate number of times, and good quantity.
Right. So, how do we understand what's an adequate amount of urine which is going out of our body? Does color have any significance? Does frequency have any significance?
Absolutely. See, a child who passes urine 5 times a day, only few drops, which are dark urine, is not adequate. He must pass urine 5 6 times a day, which should be normal color or colorless, clear urine. Secondly, the feeling of thirst should disappear. The fact that you feel thirsty is an indirect way of understanding that your body is depleted in water. You are dehydrated. So once you are adequately hydrated, you no longer feel thirsty. You pass adequate urine, adequate number of times, and clear in color, and you feel comfortable. You don't feel dizzy. So these are a few things, and most importantly, if you are dehydrated, your body temperature tends to increase. You start feeling warm. You get temperature, what is known as dehydration fever or environmental fever. And mind you, a child who is pushed to the extent of getting fever is badly dehydrated. So don't reach that stage. Keep consuming lots of liquids and fluids.
Wonderful. So, summer में ये problem, especially now that we have extended summer also. Of course, we had rains in between, and then we had a drastic heat wave. So, we need to be cautious about dehydration. And ये जो आपने oral dehydration solution के बारे में बताया है, ORS, simple sugar and salt. इसको बनाने की विधि, I think we should talk about it a little more in detail. Simple सा है, but I think we should.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Jhansi, for reminding me that. See, oral rehydration solution is named as invention of the millennium. It has saved millions of lives. The easiest way is take a lota of water, a liter of water, a handful of sugar, and a pinch of salt. नींबू शरबत बनाते उसी तरह से. I mean, some children don't like the taste of ORS. You could squeeze little lemon and make it tasty, but don't forget to add salt. That pinch of salt is extremely important. And please do not equate this ORS, which is readily available in market, or the homemade ORS with drinks like, say, Glucon D or any aerated or cold drinks. So it contains lots of sugar, it does not contain salt, and that can perpetuate dehydration, and it is not really good for health. So oral rehydration solution, which is WHO qualified, or homemade oral rehydration solution, as I described, is good enough. Now again, ORS are available in different pack sizes. You have a small sachet which has to be dissolved in one glass full of water, which is about 200 ml, and you have a big sachet which has to be dissolved in 1 liter of
Only.
water. It can be stored like your water, any other drink, and it has to be kept in the cupboard and consume it as and when required.
Wonderful. So these are the simplest ways that we can save lives. And ORS is not just for heat stroke. It's also जो किसी के दौरे है या दस्त है,
बिल्कुल.
like dysentery and diarrhea. We need to address all of this. Before we continue with questions, I see a lot of people are asking. Adults are asking questions. Navya, Vinay. Adults के लिए हम यहाँ बात नहीं कर पाएंगे because Dr. Vijay Yewale is a very senior pediatrician here. So we will not be taking questions related to adults. Sir, here's Ultra Brothers. इनका नाम नहीं दिया है. Sir, I want to please suggest immunity, kids immunities कैसे increase किया जाए.
So, most of the children, I would say 99% of children are born with adequate immunity. That immune
अच्छा.
disorders, which are primarily because of defects in the immunity, is not so very common. Number one. Number two, we tend to, call anything and everything that the child gets, we blame it on immunity. In fact, it's the other way around. The moment the child starts getting symptoms is an indirect way of knowing that the child has good immunity. So fever is a way to fight out infection. We boil water, we boil food to eliminate viruses and germs. So similarly, it's a protective mechanism inside our body which raises blood temperature to take care of ailments and germs, and that is a sign of good immunity. Whereas parents would say ये बार बार फीवर आ रहा है बच्चे की इम्यूनिटी कम है, give some immunity. The best immunity
Okay.
booster is good nutrition, good hygiene, breastfeeding for first 6 months of life, exclusive breastfeeding, continuing to breastfeed and introduce solid nutrition at an appropriate time.
Well, solid nutrition, appropriate time. I wanted to ask Suman's question here. Is it when can I introduce dry food 8 months old baby and also D3 drops कब stop कर सकती हूँ? The same question. The same mother is asking these questions. And is it safe to give cow's milk or packaged milk to 8 months old baby?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting question. I would say that first and foremost, there is no substitute for breast milk. So it is birthright of every baby to get mother's milk. Number one. When should you start breastfeeding? As soon as the baby is thrown out of the womb. There is a good practice at Apollo Hospital that we follow. Even before the cord is cut, we put the baby to the breast. And the nature
Oh,
is so great that once the baby is delivered, you place the baby on the mother's tummy and baby starts crawling towards the breast.
only.
So that is a wonderful mechanism. So breastfeed your baby exclusively for first 6 months. Introduce weaning food at on completion of 6 months. So there are many parents, especially working parents, who tend to advance this to 4 months. Please do not do that. The intestines are not prepared to accept solids before 6 months of age, and breast milk is adequate nutrition for first 6 months of life. Beyond 6 months, most of the mothers would supplement breast milk with top milk, cow milk, formula milk. Please do not do that. Nature ensures that the milk flow goes down after 6 months so that the baby is supplied with calories from semi solids or complementary food, what we call as. So 6 महीने के बाद start introducing food at a time, one item at a time. So simple thumb rule, there is no rocket science. Introduce one item at a time. Start with very small quantity. To begin with twice a day, then make it 3 times a day and 4 times a day. Don't mix feed to begin with. If you say, for example, use two items at a time, you would not know what the baby is tolerating and what the baby is not tolerating if something happens, say diarrhea or vomiting. So that is why introduce one item at a time. Do not introduce top milk unless you require milk to prepare a recipe. Say kheer. So you can use the milk that you purchase. So, like this, start introducing one food after the other. Puree, ragi, which are very nutritious. Add little jaggery to water preparation that you are giving to your child. Soft food from semi liquid to semi solid to solid. And preferably homemade items. and please do not fill your baby's tummy with top milk and cow milk. Cow milk is not good to a newborn baby and in the first year of life. And beyond 1.5 years, the milk flow would automatically go down. Breast milk, I'm talking about. And by then, the child would have started accepting 4 solid meals a day. So that this is how you transition. And again, there is a wrong notion that the child needs lots of milk. No, in fact, in India, unfortunately, most of the children are given cow milk. Mother's milk, the moment mother milk come ho gaya, introduce cow milk, so baby ends up taking a lot of milk, and the babies who are fed on cow milk without appropriate solids develops iron deficiency, anemia, goes low on calcium, so on and so forth. Somebody asked about vitamin D3. Vitamin D3,
Yes.
there is a universal recommendation to consume 400 units, that is half to 1 ml of vitamin D, depending on the preparation that is used, for at least 1 year. And if you give vitamin D3, there is no additional supplement that is required of calcium. Calcium will come from mother's milk. You use vitamin D3, and this calcium will be well assimilated in the baby's body and bones.
Wonderful. Suman, thank you so much for asking this question, because your question has answered many newborn mothers and parents' question.
Absolutely.
And I always say, audience, your questions make our show interesting, because it's not one personal question. This question is an answer to many more who are watching this, and there's so much of information which goes out. Thank you, Suman, once again, and thank you, Dr. Vijay, for taking time to address this very important question.
Yeah.
Here's next question, Navya Gurram. Daughter 6-year-old has severe cough at times without cold and has skin allergies. Now she is on Montelukast syrup as per doctor's advice. Are the allergic cough and the skin allergies related?
Yes, absolutely. Allergy manifests in children in 2 or 3 ways. One is allergic rhinitis, where child keeps sneezing, has repeated cold, stuffy nose, and there is, always rashes around the nose. That is your allergic rhinitis. They also have adenoids, the hypertrophy of the extension of the tonsils behind the nose. So that makes a child mouth breathe or snore at times, at night especially. The second way of manifestation is your asthma. You have cough, which is very often labeled as allergic cough, but essentially these children have an underlying asthma or wheezing, which is pretty common in first 5 6 years of life. And as the child grows, the tendency reduces. And finally, many children manifest as allergic skin manifestation. A small baby can have rash, dry skin, multiple patches which apparently look like ringworm, but these are not fungal infections, but they are dry skin and atopic dermatitis, what we call as. And there can be, it's a wide spectrum. At one end, you have child with little drying up of skin. At other end, you have severe eczema. So, yes, skin and respiratory manifestations are part and parcel of the underlying allergic diathesis that a child may have.
But I understand and empathize with the parents who are worried about their children. It's not just physical, doctor, because I've gone through as a parent, I've understood that I'm not able to help my child. That was my constant worry. So that's how I was seeking out ki kya karu main. So this is the
I know
anxiety.
it is frustrating at times because it does require a lot of intervention in the form of clothing, keeping the skin moist all the time, using moisturizing lotions, and at times mild steroids, depending on what your doctor has advised. And but then trust me, as the child grows, the child becomes less sensitive and comes out of it. I'm sure, Jhansi, you must have experienced the same. As the child grows,
Experience, yeah. Till the time that she was 16, the continuous skin
yeah,
issues persisted. So,
yeah, yeah.
anyway. So I would ask, as a being a senior parent, I would ask parents to have information on hand, know more, do less. This is what I've understood. Keep your
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So before I continue the questions, Anmol Ratan Singh ji, I understand that you're trying to reach out to our team for your health credits. And according to the last information that we have on hand, your health credits have been credited. In case that they haven't been, please do contact once again. We'll ask our team to look into it. So backend team will definitely take care of you. And so next question is from Rajeshwar Bharti. 3-month-old baby girl is having white spots in hand and some other body parts as well. Do they disappear over period, or do we have to attend to them seriously?
Jhansi, can I get the question again? I missed out on what
All
you
right.
asked.
The baby child is 3 month old, having
Okay.
white spots on hands and other body parts as well. Do these disappear over period, or do they have to take them seriously and take an advice?
Okay. Now there are different reasons why you get white spots on your body. There could be simple skin condition like pityriasis alba, which is pretty common in summer months, especially in a child who sweats a lot. And but there are similar looking other reasons why a child can have white patches on the skin. So it is better to consult your doctor, but in general, have good hygiene and cleanliness. Ensure that, especially in a child who sweats a lot, he takes bath, wears loose clothes, and always well ventilated. And then, depending on what your doctor prescribes, you can use different lotions or cream. And if it is pityriasis alba, a known skin condition which is extremely superficial fungal infection, your doctor may prescribe some antifungal lotion or cream.
All right. So it's as simple as that, not to worry at all. So next question that we will take up. I don't see doctor's picture, but I hope he's on the show with us. Dr. Vijay, is there a technical difficulty that Dr. Vijay is facing? Let's see if we can get Dr. Vijay Yewale back onto the screen. While our backend team is getting doctor's picture back on the screen, we are going to take your question, Siddharth. Yes, we will take your question. It is very important. I will take your question in a bit once doctor comes back. And also, Anup Mishra, you are asking a very, very important question on diabetes. So, insulin, we will take that question. And also we are going to talk about diarrhea and dysentery. We are going to talk about picky eating and sunstroke. Yes, Dr. Vijay is back. Dr.
Yeah.
Siddharth is waiting for an answer here. While here's Siddharth's question. Son is 8 year old and he has morning sneezing and occasional cold for the last few months. In 2021, he is also exposed to coronavirus. Can the sneezing be due to post-COVID effects? What should he do?
Very unlikely that the child continues to sneeze because of the corona that he had a couple of years ago. This looks like again an allergic issue. The best practice is to ensure that the dust mite is the commonest allergen. So use a fresh washed bed sheet, change the pillow cover, and this is one common reason. Ensure that the walls do not have seepage, the room is well ventilated, and please consult your pediatrician and get onto treating him. If the sneezing and early morning cold and stuffy nose is really disturbing.
यस डॉक्टर जैसे मैंने समझा है कि मॉइस्ट वॉल्स जो है वो दे आर पोजिंग सर्टन काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज व्हिच वी डोंट इवन रियलाइज लीकेजेस हो सकते हैं ऊपर से सीपेजेस हो सकते हैं कभी बारिश की वजह से हो सकते हैं द काइंड ऑफ फंगसेस एंड मोल्ड्स एंड वायरसेस दैट वी हैव what are the
Yeah.
dangers of moist walls?
So the moist walls usually indicates fungus in the air, and that is an important trigger for many respiratory allergic issues. It also indicates that the rooms that you are living in are not well ventilated or aerated. So please ensure that one need not live in very plush and houses, but at the same time, these basic bare minimum things are to be attended to.
But during COVID, especially when the pandemic didn't have enough information to write information which was going in rounds, everybody closed and shut their doors. We were living literally in the same way under vacuum condition, vacuum seal karke. Now I think
True,
we are
true.
understanding airborne diseases in a different pattern.
Yeah, yeah. But one thing that all of us have learned because of COVID is hand hygiene, observing distance. So that is something that has now pretty well gone into our heads. Yeah.
Yes, but how do we help our children, especially the Siddharth has asked a question about coronavirus and other viruses that we have. So, how can we help our children who are constantly playing with other children, mingling socially, and also schools? So, how can we help our children understand these?
Well, again, most of the respiratory diseases that we see in children are viral, one. Secondly, they are self limiting. And third, most important thing is they are transmitted through nose droplets like your coronavirus. However, the problem, this is problem on one hand. The other issue is most of the parents are living in nuclear family today. They are working and they find school as the safest and best crush for their children. So they are in a great hurry to send the children back to school. The moment the fever is down, they would rush the child back to school. So please do not do that. If a child has common cold, cough, or viral illness, ensure that he rests, he takes adequate rest, and don't send him to school or play unless he is fully out of the symptoms. Because it is these symptoms, the children are reservoir, they pass it on to other children. And children mingle with anyone and everyone. You have elderly members in the family, you have other kids in the playground, you have teachers and other schoolmates in the school, and you go to mall, you go for shopping, and that is how you keep spreading virus from one child to the other. So ensure that the child is taken care of properly by good nutrition and adequate symptomatic treatment with the consult of your doctor, and then avoid sending such a child, sick child, to the school unless he recovers well, and which usually takes about 3 to 4 days.
Yes, that's important. It's not the children who are causing this pandemic or spreading a virus, it's the parents and their attitude that is spreading diseases.
And fortunately, COVID has played pretty well with children. And children have been spared, and children have not contracted very bad, severe disease because of corona infection. And one important that before I forget, that influenza vaccine is something which must be given to children, especially children below the age of 5 years, because they are at risk of contracting influenza and contracting complicated influenza and spread influenza to others. And influenza, though by and large is a benign illness in healthy adults, you have elderly in the family, you have family members who have diabetes, some chronic diseases, and these individuals, when they contract influenza, can really have complicated disease. So ensure that the child is protected against influenza by taking influenza vaccine, and you prevent influenza spreading from these protected children to other members who are at risk of getting difficult influenza disease.
Wonderful, doctor. Thank you so much. So, parents, please do take a note. Under 5, you have a child. Do check if your pediatrician or if your immunization schedule for influenza vaccine is updated or not. डॉक्टर कॉलिक पेन के बारे में एक रजिस्टर्ड यूजर का क्वेश्चन है सोनिया हैज आस्क्ड व्हाट हेल्प्स टू रिलीव कॉलिक पेन इन न्यूबॉर्न
Okay, colic is something which is a very common issue in newborn babies, usually occurs in the second half of the day. It is because of spasm of the intestinal muscles. Usually, what I recommend is you burp the baby after you feed the baby. You give tummy time, put the baby on tummy, and by and large, this is something which is self-limiting. Unless your doctor advises you specific anti-colic measures, don't indulge in self-medicating or using any medicine. There are remedies like, for example, some home remedies many mothers would come and ask, please avoid them. And
जी
trust me,
पहले हम
it
लोग
is
किचन में
it is
भागते हैं
very
वो पानी दो ये पानी दो
yeah, mat dijiye. And it is very difficult for a mother to see the child howling with pain. But trust me, it really doesn't harm the baby. They cry it out. And in fact, in our medical language, we call colic as cause obscure lengthy infant cry. That's the mnemonic to
वाओ
remember what colic is. Yeah. So if really it's beyond science, and it just let the baby cry and then nothing happens. But don't indulge in. I see parents using lots of medicines and remedies. Please don't do that.
तो
At the most, some carminative drops with prescription of your doctor. Otherwise, no. Don't get into using anti-colic medicines every now and then. There is a risk of the baby developing bloating, constipation, so on and so forth.
Yes, doctor. संस्कृत में एक लाइन है, बाला नाम रोदनम बलम. This is what
Absolutely.
we are taught. So let the children cry, and that's actually they're growing
Yes,
there.
yes.
Right. So
Yes.
next question that we will take up is where did I miss? Anup Mishra. Doctor, he wants your comments on high fasting insulin in kids of age group 10 to 12. Here we are opening up a larger discussion. High fasting insulin.
High,
Fasting insulin.
high fasting insulin. So I do not know
10 to
why
11,
Anup
10
is
to 12
asking.
year old. Huh.
I do not know why is Anup asking this question, but in general, the high fasting insulin, and these are the problems which are increasing with every day. It is because of unhealthy eating habits. Most of the children are overweight and obese, and the incidence of diabetes in children is also on the rise. Typically, we have type 1 diabetes in children, and what adults have is type 2 diabetes. But unfortunately, even type 2 diabetes is now creeping in pediatric population, especially adolescent obese fat children. So the diabetes is best prevented rather than treated, because this insulin metabolism defects and diabetes is on the rise only because of our unhealthy eating habits. The developing countries like India, we were plagued with malnutrition, undernutrition. That the problem has swung to the other end of spectrum, what we call as malnutrition, eating in the malls, unhealthy food. So essentially, it boils down to
It's not the
taking
malnutrition,
taking
it's
health.
the malnutrition.
Yeah. So essentially, it boils down to eating healthy and indulging in physical activity. So most of the you need to cut down on the screen time, watch less TV, get onto playgrounds, indulge in physical activity and sports. That's very important.
Great. So, Light इनका नाम नहीं दिया है. Doctor, his kid is 8-year-old and is having frequent diarrhea, especially in summers when he comes back from school. What to do to prevent it?
Well, frequent diarrhea, if it is small quantity, one needs to really look into the reason behind it. Very often, anxiety, the sympathetic stimulation can lead to frequent urination, frequent diarrhea. Then, in little grown up adolescent children under stress, they can have this something which is like irritable bowel that an adult has. And finally, in, in the northern part of our country, there is a disease called celiac disease where a child could be allergic to gluten. That needs, but of course there are other telltale symptoms and signs of celiac disease. So if this child has frequent diarrhea, you need to check, you need to consult your doctor and see if it is really significant diarrhea. One, the quantity, how long it lasts, is there any trigger, is it related to anxiety, is it related to unhealthy eating, is it related to overeating, and last but not the least, is very often these days we find children constipated. So they have irregular bowels, incomplete evacuation, and ultimately they end up passing small frequent stools, whereas the impacted fecal matter stays back inside only. And unless you take care of the underlying constipation, this passing frequent stools after meals, it continues for a pretty long period of time, and it is mistaken for diarrhea, whereas the underlying problem is constipation and not diarrhea. So what I would suggest is you consult a pediatrician and try and get to the root cause why the child is having this frequent diarrhea.
Yes, and Dr. Vijay Yewale can be consulted on Apollo 24/7's app online, whichever part of the
Absolutely.
country you're
Yes.
watching. Yes, and he'll be there to address your issue too. And his link is given in the chat box as well as the description. That will be easy for you to find him. So here's Ashish Mehta's question. Daughter's 10-year-old, and when she wakes up in the morning, she normally has a little cough, but she's fine through the day. So is this a matter of concern?
Ashish, the cough that your child gets up, on waking up in the morning could be a small, cough which is self-limiting, could be because of secretions which accumulate. Just ensure that the child doesn't have enlarged adenoids. And the fact that you tell me that she or he is absolutely fine through the day, I don't think it is a cause of concern. However, if the fact that you have voiced out this question, if you find it really significant, please consult a pediatrician and try and find out the root cause behind it.
एक वेरी नॉर्मल सा एवरीबडीज क्वेश्चन दैट आई वुड वांट टू आस्क, जब भी ऐसे कुछ कफ या स्नीजिंग या कोल्ड के एपिसोड्स होते हैं, वी टेंड टू डू होम रेमेडीज. We first look out for our kitchen remedies. So how good are they, and
Yes.
what are the remedies that we can follow, and what are the remedies that one should not follow?
Well, first, and I'll tell you what not to do. One is, don't go to a medical store and buy cough and cold syrup over the counter. Especially in a child
Fantastic.
who is below 5 years of age, avoid cold cough syrup. Normal saline drops are good enough. Your simple remedies like steam inhalation in a grown up child, I repeat, in a grown up child, is good enough. Your warm water, haldi ka doodh, hot milk with turmeric, these are good home remedies. But mind you, I'm not exaggerating. We get parents with burns because they try to use steam inhalation in very young children who would reach out to the boiling water and they sustain burns. So please be careful. Unless you are confident, you do not do it, especially in very young children. So home remedies like hot milk, turmeric milk, milk with turmeric, garglings, little ginger and honey, especially on the background of the frequency at which cough keeps recurring in a child, these home remedies are not too bad. In fact, there was a time about 4 months ago when we had every child coming to the hospital with cough every other day. We did we did encourage home remedies. But please follow these do's and don'ts. And if the cough doesn't settle, do not forget to consult your doctor.
Be mindful of what you're doing and be cautious with children,
Yeah,
especially.
right.
Next question that is asked is by Prithvi. 3-year-old hai, child, male child hai. His stomach gets upset once in a week, in 1 week, usually in small intervals of time, and then he stops eating.
So again, during especially in summer months, diarrhea and stomach upsets are not uncommon. One, because of consumption of unhealthy food in vacation time, when you are outing, when you attend summer camps, you attend swimming pool, and then you do get infected with small viruses. Again, fortunately, these are self-limiting episodes. Ensure that the child is not dehydrated by using ORS and continuing to have good nutrition, because again there is a myth that if the child is given less to eat, he'll pass less motion. No, in fact, child needs very healthy diet during any acute illness. So continue to give him good nutrition, prevent dehydration, and if need be, you could consult your doctor. And if it is occurring too often and too frequently, please consult a doctor and find out if there is an underlying issue. And curds and buttermilk, these are good probiotic, natural probiotic, which should be included in the meals of all the children.
Yes. Ruchika's niece is 5-year-old who doesn't eat properly in summers, picky eater. She either eats very less or drinks only liquids or juices. Is that the right way?
So, well, in summer, as I said, thirst mechanisms set in, and you tend to increase lot of, consume lot of fluids. So these cold drinks and aerated drinks and juices, they have lot of calories, and I would say bad calories. So keep their consumption to a minimum. Get into regular eating habits and avoid junk. Of course, it is
Okay.
impossible for a child not to give, snack. Picky eater picky eating is a very very common problem faced these days, and I just mentioned a few minutes back we are getting to malnutrition. So occasional once a week or is it's fine, but I see children who would binge onto burger and pizzas and all canned and stored food, which is really not good for health. So have good square meals
Yes.
every day. And once in a way, you could satisfy your child by offering this fancy food, but don't make it a habit. Also ensure that the
Right.
child takes adequate fibers in the diet. So green leafy vegetables, fruits, which are antioxidants, are extremely important.
Doctor, here two quick questions that, and I will wrap up because it's already 11:55 that I
Yeah.
see. Gaurav's son is 8 months old, weight is 6 kilos. What supplements can I give for the weight gain? This is one question on all age group children that people ask: weight gain and supplements.
So Gaurav, I guess your child, I mean, the weight would depend on what the baby's weight is at birth. So by and large, as a thumb rule, a baby doubles the birth weight by 5 months of age. And most of the parents and especially grandparents feel that the child should be fat to call the child as healthy child. Nature is great. You continue to exclusively breastfeed up to 6 months of age. Introduce in a you know methodical manner the solid food, and your child would do well. Don't chase the weight. If the child is active, playful, and is consuming adequate balanced diet, you just don't worry about the weight. Unless the child has underlying chronic illness, Gaurav, which doesn't seem to be case in your child, so don't. There is no sacrosanct number. It all depends on the birth weight, the constitution of the parents. Each one of us has a different bodily habitus. We are constitutionally different. So please respect that and don't get into comparing your child with somebody else's child. So long as the child is healthy, don't chase the number.
Right. Ashish Awasthi's question, baby is 4 months old. His snoring at the time while sleeping, is this normal or cause concern?
We call it noisy breathing. If the child is not breathless, putting on weight, is not sick, is able to suck at the breast, this snoring is normal. Noisy breathing is pretty well common in babies.
And one last question and a quick answer from you, I expect, Doctor. Rajeshwari Bharti is asking, how many bowel movements for a 3-month-old child is normal?
Well, actually, that would vary from baby to baby, right from one on alternate day to 7, 8 times a day, provided the baby is feeding well and growing well.
All right, Doctor. Thank you so much. You have been very patient and you have such a wonderful way of explaining information to our parents. Thank you once again. But I would want top tips to take care of the summer heat exertion, especially during the summer months. How do we take care of our children?
Well, thank you, Jhansi. It was wonderful interacting. The key messages that I would like to give my dear parents is one, we are in the summer, so summer leads to dehydration. Ensure that the child is well hydrated by consuming lots of liquids. Continue to give the child good nutrition. Take care of the skin by, observing good personal hygiene, wearing loose, light clothes, if required, bathe the child twice a day. And if there are ailments like skin ailments or respiratory problems, common cold, diarrhea, vomiting, please consult your doctors. There are certain home remedies that you can try until such time that you get to see your doctor, like just to take care of temperature. Measure the temperature on thermometer. If there's temperature, you can use paracetamol, which is a safe medication. Similarly, a dose or two of anti-vomiting medicine until you reach a doctor is also fine, but ensure that the child takes adequate liquids orally. And then there are certain diseases which are very peculiar of summer, and they are best again prevented by observing hygiene and not letting a sick child move out of the house hurriedly and mingle with other children or go back to school unless the child recovers fully. So stay healthy, remain healthy, give good nutrition, take care of hygiene, and consult your doctor as and when there are symptoms or there are problems with health of your child. And remain and ensure that the child is up to date on the vaccines. Vaccine is one thing which has ability to prevent lot many diseases, and prevention is always better than cure. Thank you so much, my dear parent. It was wonderful interacting with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for this time on Sunday morning. Once again, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jhansi. It was wonderful interacting.
Thank you. Wonderful, and here comes your chance to win gift coupons and health credits. Here are the health quiz rules. Answer the questions on YouTube chat. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and you'll have to type these answers on YouTube chat only. Winner's name will be announced towards the end of the show, and winners will be selected at the sole discretion of Apollo 24/7 team. If I am taking your name as a winner, please do contact with us. You have to write back to us at marketing@apollo247.com. to claim your health credits. Gift vouchers and health credits will be shared with you. आज के 3 क्वेश्चंस हम आपके स्क्रीन पे डाल रहे हैं. ट्रू और फॉल्स, प्लीज टाइप यस और ट्रू और फॉल्स. For the question number 1, food poisoning is common during summer season. True or false? Fill in the blank. S dash dash STR dash 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 can happen if anyone goes out in the sun without taking proper care or hydrating themselves. What is this? S blank STR blank. Fill in the blank. What is this which can go out if you go out into the sun without taking proper care or hydrating? Question number 3, yes or no में type कीजिए. Sunburn is very common in the months of summer. Can it be prevented? It can be prevented, yes or no? These are the 3 questions for this week. Please go ahead, type your answers in the YouTube chat box. And this is the time to give out our gift vouchers for our viewers. We give out these gift vouchers where you can use them on Apollo 24/7 app. Download the app and then use them there. The first code that we're giving this week is AskDoc150, ASKDOC 150. When you consult top doctors from Apollo on Apollo 24/7, you get 150 rupees cash back on online doctor consultation. Terms and conditions, of course, do apply. And the next coupon that we give is FIRST3, FIRST 3 as a numeral 3. You order medicines from Apollo Hospitals, Apollo 24/7, and get 25% off on online medicine orders. And you know that this is valid on the first 3 medicine orders, 1,000 rupees and above. And next coupon that we give is HH247, which is 199 off on online consultation with Apollo doctors and 20% off on medicine orders. You can use this coupon code in addition to the other coupons that we have shared earlier. And by the way, you can also order WhatsApp पे, आप text या call पे order कर सकते हैं आपके medicines on Apollo 24/7 to avail healthcare services. Call or text on 9355-247-247. They're just a call away on WhatsApp too. Next week we are going to talk about malaria, dengue, chikungunya. इनसे हम सुरक्षित कैसे रहे? We are going to have an expert general physician, internal medicine, talking about these malaria, dengue, and chikungunya and how to stay safe. Next Sunday, 28th May, 11 a.m. we shall meet you with this interesting topic. Because at this time, again, Ritu badlegi and then it's important to take care of ourselves. Let me see who our winners for today are. Krish, Ramesh and Tajinder Singh. Krish, Ramesh, Tajinder Singh, congratulations, you are the winners for this week. Please do write back all your details, contact details at marketing@apollo247.com to claim your prizes. And winners of previous episodes, 90% of the winners' health credits have been credited. In case there are some pending issues, we shall be taking care. Thank you for the patience. Namaskar.